Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to talk to you about two different things. The first is this proposal that has been raised here, and I think is kind of a big no. And then I want to go circling back into an official announcement, which has to do with season rentals coming to Splinterlands, which will be cool. So first and foremost, we're going to get into the proposal. The proposal has to do with converting BUSD, which is held in the DAO. It's $100,000 worth of BUSD that the proposer is asking that we move into DEC and DAI. And that liquidity pool, that $100,000 would move into a different liquidity pool, and instead of sitting in the BUSD holdings. And the proposal or suggestion comes out of a place of concern because BUSD is, I guess, like people have concerns about it, and specifically he cites Binance and CZ saying that Binance will support BUSD, but we want to migrate away from stablecoins, and we think the community kind of should. That's so on the strength of that, or the concern that comes out of that conversation, he wants to take they want to take the $100,000 worth of, where does it say that? We have $103,000 in BUSD that's sitting in the treasury, and he wants to move it into a $50,000 worth of DEC and a $50,000 worth of DAI, and that would move into its own liquidity pool, which has 400,000 currently, making it 500,000 total. Theoretically, seems in some sense logical, but this one's getting just dunked on for a hard no. As you can see, I don't know if this is why this is such a resounding no, to be honest. I don't know why we would be I don't know why we should be particularly concerned about it, since even though Binance is raising kind of red flags, they're not taking action themselves. And then the second part is, I also don't know why we should be like just such a hard no, because it seems like a prudent suggestion. I don't really have a firm opinion on this, and it feels as though even if I did say yes, it wouldn't matter. But this is a new proposal, and it's cool to see community proposals still coming forward, and it's interesting to see how this one is just, there's like a very strong no here. So that's the first topic I wanted to get into. But secondly, and maybe in a more detailed fashion, I really want to talk about the official announcement that came here. So Yava Matt posted an official announcement talking about season rental update. So they're announcing season rental updates, and it says the team is very excited to announce that we're starting February 28th, which is 3 days from today, on Tuesday when they do their updates. They are going to implement a season rental functionality. Instead of just daily rentals, you'll be able to secure them for an entire season, as opposed to a period of a number of days. As you know, when we rent cards, we are obligated to borrow them for at least 2 days. But then if you want them for 30 days, the problem is you as the borrower might agree to pay for 30 days, but the lender can just say after 2 days, nah, I'm done with that. I want to cancel that and relist because the market prices have swayed so dramatically, and it's not even necessarily manually driven. You know as well as I do that Splex and Peak Monsters offer different services that will automate that process, so the lender, without even their knowledge, can see that those sort of longer term rentals are being canceled, and then the card is being relisted for potentially more profitability. That's the way it works, and that's been a problem for a long time. I feel like this has been a problem, probably since the beginning of the rental period, since we started being able to rent cards, because I remember early on people would rent however much collection power they needed for the very last day of the season, just to have the CP required to meet the target needed, so they claimed their season chest, and they retained their whatever league level they were looking at claiming. So if you're in Diamond, you needed 200,000 CP or whatever it is, and they would rent for that one day. And so this has always been a problem in one way or another. And this sounds like a really cool solution. I do wonder if having the season rental option is going to be, I think in the early days, it's going to be complicated, because just knowing, like, is the cost of, for instance, the Bloodmaker is shown here. If the Bloodmaker rents for 1 DEC a day, is it worth 30 DEC for the month? Or is it worth less than that because that bulk sort of commitment of a full 30-day period or potentially deserves some sort of discount? You know what I mean? When you go to Costco and buy a big bag of, of a product of rice or flour, you're going to pay less per pound than if you went to your corner store and bought the same product. And so I think the players who own the cards and the people who want to borrow the cards need to figure this out. And that's part of the beauty of a free market. I think these things will work themselves out, but there'll be turbulence within the first days and maybe in the first season or two where this starts to grow, because part of it will depend, I think, on how many cards get listed as season rentals. And then if the system allows you to, for instance, list as potentially, optimally, the system would allow me to post a certain card with a daily price, but hey, if you want it for the full season, you can have it for this per day. And I think that sort of technology would make this even more optimized. But just quickly, just to read a little bit about how it's going to technically work, because some of what I know is some of what I'm hoping for might actually be planned. And I did read this, but I'm going to read some of it again. So a season rental that starts with 7 or more days remaining in a current ranked play season will be active and cannot be ended or canceled until the end of the current season. So that gives you a sense of the commitment. Like, we're talking, when we say season rentals, we're really saying if you start borrowing with like half of the season left, you're going to be committed to that full remaining period. A season rental that starts with a season rental that starts with more than 7 days, rather, will be active and cannot be ended or canceled until the end of the current season. Okay, so if you borrow and there's more than 7 days left in the season, you can end at the end of the season. If there's 8 days left in the season, you can end at the very, at the finish of the season. But if you rent and there are fewer than 7 days, so 6, 5, 4, 3 days left, they will be active and cannot be ended or canceled until the end of the following season, which is we're talking now 20 days, 25 days ish, something in that ballpark. That sort of extension and longevity, I think, is going to be a good thing from the lender's perspective, just having that, I guess, that commitment. And it's probably going to translate into, as I alluded to, some sense of discount for the borrower. Maybe not initially, but I think as the free market kind of figures its way out, you should, I would think, expect to see some kind of discount on the bulk or the longer term rental as opposed to the daily cost. That would make a lot of sense to me. You can borrow my card for 2 days. It's going to cost you 1 DEC each day, or you can borrow it for the full season and you're going to pay 0.75%, 75% of that or something like that. That would make, in my mind, economical sense. Rentals can be done with DEC or credits, and they're priced on a per day basis as the length of time of a season rental may vary. Okay, good. Okay. The full rental price will be paid out to the card owner immediately, not escrowed and paid out daily. I like that. So if you tell me you want it for 15 days, it's going to give me the full DEC for the 15 days on day one. Since the rental cannot be ended. Okay. So that's assuming, in fact, that the rental cannot be. No, that makes sense. Yeah, because it can't be ended. Cool. Yeah, I like that. You enter into a contract. You're committing to having that card for that many days. There's no early cancellation, and that's that. All cards currently listed on the rental market will remain as daily rentals, and only newly listed cards for which the owner chooses the season rental option will be available. And see, this is going to mean that there's not an immediate saturation of season rentals. It's going to take time for that side of the market to fill. And as that is not yet full, I would imagine in the early onset, you're going to see season rentals be more expensive or potentially way too cheap. There's not going to be this clear, where is the line? It's going to take time for the market to establish what the fair market value would be across a full season. And also, we know that we're moving into a place where listings will start being canceled. I think it was across 30 days, existing rentals or listings will be just canceled for whether it's sales or rentals. And so that's going to translate to lots of fresh listings with lots of new people maybe choosing the season rental option. But it doesn't sound as though there is going to be the option I prefer, which is here's my price if you want it for a day, here's my price if you want it for a season. That sort of functionality would be really powerful, I think. Maybe that'll be something that comes from Peak Monsters, we'll see, or from, ultimately from, third-party creators. I don't know. I'm not sure how that works. But it is nice to see Peak Monsters getting the shout out here. Shout out to Jarvie. And this is cool. Season rentals are also a significant piece of a much larger project of simplifying the entire process of getting cards into those who need them, their hands, to be competitive in Splinterlands for the majority of players. By combining the new season rentals with things like the decks feature recently released by Peak Monsters, which I talked about and gave you like kind of a sneak review of, my first reaction to, we hope that will soon be able to offer players the ability to rent an entire deck of cards at their current league level for an entire season with one click. That is very cool. I think that ultimately will sort of transpire, and you can imagine it looking like, you go to my decks, and you could potentially create what you perceive to be a very powerful death deck or life deck, and then it might be as simple as, this is the rental price, just go ahead and click it, and DC, boom, and there it is. Like right now what it's doing is it's showing me my full list of those cards, but if it ultimately just let me borrow them, grabbing it from whomever, you know what I mean? It wouldn't have to be John Doe who has this exact population of cards in one deck. It could be, this one's from John, this one's from Jane, this one's from Jim, this one. But the system is able to grab those at the cheapest levels available and just populate them into my cart, and then completely solidify that contract, whether it's at the 1 day level, the 2 day level. Well, I think minimally is the 2 day level, but then ultimately even at the season level. I think that's where this is going to go. And I think I'm glad to see the announcement provide that sort of acknowledgement for Peak Monsters, because man, that tool is cool, and I'm excited to see how that takes down barriers and how it helps people get the cards they need for the price they want to pay and into the Splinterlands. So I'm gonna leave it there, but thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope you're having an amazing day, and guys, check this out. I don't know if you can see this actually, but in my area we are set to get between 4 inches and 12 inches overnight, so that is wild. I am definitely not used to 4 inches of snow. Snowfall warning. There it is. Snowfall winter warning. 15 to 25 centimeters. That equates to about 6 inches all the way up to maybe 10. Yeah, 6 to 10. And other people are calling for maybe 12. Depends on which news provider you're looking at. So I guess do me a favor. If you pray for us. We want to make sure everybody's safe. Our people are not used to this sort of snow at this late of in the year, and we don't want any sort of nasty crashes, especially with my family and my little kids. So guys, have an amazing day. Thanks for hanging out. Talk to you later. Bye for now.